Another affair trial has ended with defendant Brendan Banfield found guilty of all 4 charges against him. While his sentencing hearing is 4 months away, his fate is sealed, and that is because Virginia law says anybody convicted of aggravated murder must serve life in prison. Banfield was found guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder, a gun charge, and a charge on child endangerment, all as a result of conspiring with the family's au pair to lure a man to the house, frame that man, and kill him along with his wife, all so that he and the au pair could be together. Northern Virginia Bureau reporter Drew Wilder recaps the trial for us.
The jury deliberated for about 1 hour per day of evidence and told the court they came to their decision unanimously.
Find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder.
Brendan Banfield turns 41 years old in a few weeks, and he will spend every birthday for the rest of his life in prison, following his conviction of 2 counts of aggravated murder, as the jury concluded that he conspired to stage an elaborate and devious plot to murder his wife and another man so that he could be with the family's au pair.
It's monstrous. I mean, that's really what it is. It's monstrous.
Perhaps the most monstrous of all is what's to come. Christine and Brendan Banfield have a young daughter who was brought into the home by Brendan and the au pair and left in the basement while the brutal murders played out upstairs. She'll grow up with a father in prison for the murder of her mother. Brendan said on the witness stand that he loved Christine, but it could be what he didn't say that spoke the truth the loudest.
He was cold, that he behaved oddly in response to questions that should have elicited emotion, that he never spoke of himself as Christine's husband.
Banfield's sentencing is scheduled for May, and prosecutors told the judge that family members of the victims are expected to read victim impact statements, sending Brendan to a life in prison with a clear image of the pain he's inflicted on multiple families.
And Drew joins me now. Let's talk a little bit about what's next, particularly for Juliana. We know what's happening in May with Brendan. What's next for Juliana?
Yeah, so Juliana has a sentencing hearing. It's actually scheduled for next week, Friday the 13th, in fact. She's being sentenced on a plea agreement. That was in exchange for her testimony against Banfield. She's agreed to plead guilty to manslaughter that was dropped down from a first-degree murder charge. Now, on the low end of her sentencing, she could be released on time served, which has been about 2.5 years to this point. On the high end, she could be sentenced to 10 years in prison. Either way, she'll be deported to her home country of Brazil once she is released from prison.
I have to ask you, prosecutors seem so confident from the jump that they could get a conviction in this case, even if they didn't have the au pair's testimony. But then there's a turn, a stark turn in this case, and that's when Brendan Banfield takes the stand. What happens then?
Yeah, so it was interesting to see him take the stand in his own defense. I got to say, being there in the courtroom, it felt like any chance that Banfield might have had at an acquittal kind of evaporated the moment that he opened his mouth. In fact, a reporter asked prosecutors yesterday if they thought that Banfield's testimony in his own defense actually helped the prosecutors prove their case. Take a listen to the answer.
Yes, I, having been a defense attorney for years, I think I would have counseled against him taking the stand. But, Mr. Carroll didn't have a lot to work with. And at the end of the day, if his client wanted to testify, he had the absolute right to do so.
Kind of 2 takeaways I had from that moment, right? You see Steve Descano and you see Jenna Sands. They're both kind of almost chuckle at the question, like, yeah, him testifying really helped us out. And then they also said, if he wants to do it, that's his right. And you got to wonder what those conversations were like in the last couple of days of that trial. Was John Carroll advising Banfield against testifying? Was it ultimately his decision? We might never know the answer to that, but prosecutors seem to think that really helped them out in the end.
Right. If those courtroom cameras told us anything, it seemed very much like Brendan Banfield was driving that car.
Yep.
Drew Wilder in the studio with us. Drew, thank you so very much. Stay with